not saying you have to get married super early. I'm saying start the process. You can start the process at an earlier age. Why? So far too often what we see are young women who wait and wait and wait and wait and wait, and they just want to make themselves basically like a great guy. Like they want to be like, very dominant and assertive and
Yes.
hardworking, making lots of money. It's like, look, if I could change your name from like Fatima to like Abdullah, you'd be a perfect, you know what I mean? Like on a CV, you'd be the perfect candidate as a guy. But they spend so much time just chasing a career that by the time they look back and realize it's time to get married, unfortunately, they have to rush. They have to rush because they're like, look, the window of opportunity to have babies is really small. It's very narrow. I don't have much time left. And so then they have to rush the whole situation. And my opinion is get started early so that you can actually choose a guy that you really want. And by the way, the rush situation is so ugly. I was just dealing with a divorce the other day where I deal with too many divorces, man. When a woman is getting older and she's like, look, I don't really have anybody, but I'll settle for this guy. They do weird things. Like, for example, she married the guy and then said, "I'll do the nikah, but don't touch me." Like don't touch me at all. Like it's like, okay, so why'd you marry him? Like if you want to still get to know him longer, then get to know him. There's nothing wrong with that. You can get to know him longer. But it was like, no, I want you to not touch me for a couple of months. This is your husband. You're his wife. You're his bride. This guy's been waiting his whole life to have a wife, and you finally said yes, and you guys did the nikah. And now you're like, by the way, you won't touch me for months. I was like, sister, you don't like this guy. And ultimately, that was the case. That look, she just felt pressured. Like, look, I'm getting older, and I have to hurry up and find somebody. But so she just settled for some guy she didn't really like. And this happens way too often. That you delay and delay and delay, and then finally, when you realize time is up and you have to choose somebody, you basically choose the last, option on the shelf, the one that was the
Yeah.
leftovers that nobody wanted, and you don't want it yourself, and then you are miserable, and it sometimes leads to divorce. And then if kids get involved in the mix, like you got pregnant, then it gets even worse. So anyway, long story short, sisters, just start searching earlier. Makes life easier.
I think those are some very important pointers that you've highlighted, and I think there are just to summarize a couple of points, right, so that people can kind of wrap their heads around. I think one of the very key takeaways that I had from our conversation so far is it is kind of incumbent on men like us, fathers, brothers, to kind of educate, guide our sisters to be able
Yes.
to navigate that path of finding the right person by finding the right partners. This also applies to uh, young kids who are probably adolescents, because these guys are now growing up, and science says, right, their prefrontal cortex is not fully developed for them to make the right decision. So I think even those kids at that age, I think it is very important for us to guide those individuals. And I think the only way we can guide is when we ourselves are educating ourselves about what our deen says, what is happening in the world. I think when we educate and we kind of guide them, I think it's not basically to push them or handhold them, but probably guide them in the right direction so that we could assist and they can discover things for themselves as well.